and welcome to UzReport World News. My name is Barnona Zarzoda. Uzbekistan is considering the extension of school holidays. Nurmat Otabekov, deputy head of the sanitary service, said the decision would be adopted if the situation around the pandemic worsens. Currently, 25% of the newly identified cases in Uzbekistan account for children. If the situation does not change for the better, then we can think about the possibility of extending the holidays, Otabekov said. Meanwhile, he added that so far there were no grounds for tightening quarantine restrictions. At the same time, he recalled the need to observe precautionary measures. Uzbekistan's international reserves amounted to $33.2 billion as of March the 1st, down from $34.3 billion in February, the central bank reported. The country's reserves are stored in gold and foreign currencies.
Over the past months, gold in reserves increased by 6.2 tons, but the price fell by $500,000 amid ongoing gold price falling. The volume of Uzbekistan's gross gold foreign exchange reserves soared 19.2% in 2020, having reached $34.9 billion. The current reserves would be enough to finance more than 20 months of imports. Earlier this month, Muruntau, located in Uzbekistan's Navoiy region, was affirmed as the world's biggest gold mine.
Uzbekistan was recognized as the happiest country in Central Asia and the CIS after placing 42nd in the World Happiness Report 2021. The report is based on a wide variety of data, but its most important source has always been the Gallup World Poll. Subsequent positions from neighboring countries are occupied by Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Finland has been the undisputed leader in the list for 4 years in a row. The most unhappy countries were Rwanda, Zimbabwe and Afghanistan. The Center for Economic Research and Reform of Uzbekistan has conducted a preliminary assessment of the impact of country's accession to the World Trade Organization and concluded that the impact on exports would be in general positive.
Against Uzbekistan, the WTO member states will apply the rates of import duties agreed within the organization, and they may be lower than those that are currently applied, the center said in a statement. If the accession was successful, and import customs duties were reduced by 50%, according to preliminary calculations, the volume of imports could grow by an average of 5%, and for certain industries from 2% to 13%. Uzbekistan has a significant untapped export potential for certain types of products, the analysis shows, including fruit and vegetable products at $986.7 million, textile products at $686.6 million, electrical products at $56.6 million, the petrochemical, metallurgical, machine building, electrical, pharmaceutical, construction, textile, leather and footwear, and food industries can become drivers of the national economy, the center noted. Thus, the further integration of Uzbekistan into the world economy will contribute to the entry of domestic products into new export markets, it added.
The film 2000 Songs of Farida by the Uzbek producer Yolkun Tuchiyev won the prize Snow Leopard in the World Asian Film Festival in the US. My colleague has more.
The film 2000 Songs of Farida, shot by Fox Music Cinema for Uzbek Kino, was shown at the 5th Annual World Asian Film Festival, held in Los Angeles. To strengthen the connection between the Asian and Hollywood film industries, the best films were shown to recognize and attract the attention of high-level filmmakers from 50 countries in the region. The film tells the story of a family's life and political passion in Turkestan at the beginning of the 20th century. The main character of the film, Kamil, who lives with 3 wives away from people, married for the 4th time. Conflicts related to the arrival of a new woman in the family and the political situation in this region led to the fact that the family is destroyed.
Kazakh company BI Group is intending to invest $9.5 million in the construction of the planned Hampton by Hilton hotel in the Uzbek capital. March 20 saw a ceremony in which a time capsule was laid in the foundation of the future hotel. The hotel will include 120 rooms and a business center. The construction project is to start in May, which the commission scheduled for June 2022. Uzbekistan, in a bid to support women in marriage, protecting them from various forms of violence and harassment, has announced the introduction of a new interactive platform, Aziz Ayol Uz. The website is expected to help prevent suicide and divorce, boost spirituality, provide employment and professional knowledge. The platform will cover information on maternity leave, social benefits, pensions, as well as legal, medical, and psychological counseling. Uzbekistan's Ministry of Culture is to update its data every month, while the country's Federation of Trade Unions is to monitor the platform's operational process. The diplomatic missions of Central Asian states, including Uzbekistan, along with the embassies of Afghanistan and Azerbaijan in Washington, D.C., held an online event dedicated to the Nowruz holiday. The virtual meeting was also chaired by Oxus Society, a non-profit organization. The audience explored the history of the traditional holiday, which celebrates the new year and the advent of spring through a video presentation. The broadcast attracted over 6,000 viewers from the USA, Central Asia, and the Caucasus.
Dear honorable guests and distinguished participants, joining the warm words of Secretary Blinken, General Sassevel, Chairman Meeks, my fellow ambassadors, today it's my absolute delight to share with you the deep-rooted common heritage, Nowruz, the new day. And I'm so grateful to all who are here with us today and extended their tremendous support for this unprecedented event represented by 7 nations.
Thank you to the embassies of Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, and to the Oxus Society for inviting me to this celebration. Every year, many Americans mark the start of spring together, reminding us of our connections to each other. Although a pandemic continues to prevent us from gathering in person, this holiday brings us together, virtually, wherever we may be. The Nowruz tradition is thousands of years old, but it has always represented renewal. A new year, new opportunities, new friendships, new hopes. Whether we celebrate by lighting candles, sharing a meal with loved ones, or enjoying traditional music or poetry, let us all be inspired to rededicate ourselves to our families, our communities, and to building a tomorrow that is better than today.
As chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, I sincerely believe in finding ways to highlight our commonality and the value of working with our friends and neighbors to overcome our shared challenges. We are always stronger when we are united. I look forward to continued engagement and partnership with all of the countries represented here today. Again, thank you for the warm invitation, and I wish you all a very happy and prosperous Nowruz.
And on behalf of the American Uzbek Chamber of Commerce and our over 40 members of the most prominent U.S. companies who are working in Uzbekistan, I want to convey our congratulations and our wishes for health, happiness, and prosperity on the occasion of Nowruz. Congratulations and good wishes to President Mirziyoyev, to the ambassador, to all of the ambassadors and their families with us today, and of course, the people of Uzbekistan.
The COVID-19 vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University was 79% effective in preventing symptomatic illness in a large trial in Chile, Peru, and the United States, and was 100% effective against severe or critical disease and hospitalization. The study included over 32,000 volunteers across all age groups, and the results could help it get emergency authorization from the US Food and Drug Administration. Oxford professor Sarah Gilbert explains.
This means that AstraZeneca can now go through the process of preparing a submission to the FDA using the data from this trial. That will take some time to achieve, possibly a number of weeks, and that will then be reviewed by the FDA, who will be able to make their decision on whether to license the vaccine for use in the US.
The data, which the company released on Monday, should boost faith in the British shot after results from earlier separate studies raised questions about the robustness of the data. and allays safety concerns after some European countries briefly halted the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine earlier this month following reports it was linked to blood clots. Many have since resumed vaccinations after a regional regulator said it was safe, but a survey on Monday showed Europeans remain sceptical. Leaders in Asia have sought to boost public confidence by taking the AstraZeneca shot themselves. The AstraZeneca shot was among the first and cheapest of the COVID-19 vaccines to be developed and launched on a large scale. It is set to be the key vaccination program in much of the developing world.
A mass shooting in Boulder, Colorado left multiple people dead, including a police officer, on Monday. That's according to authorities, who also confirmed that a suspect injured in the violence has been arrested. Police gave no known motive for the violence, which unfolded at about 3 p.m. at a King Soopers grocery store in the Table Mesa area of Boulder, some 28 miles northwest of Denver. Boulder Police Chief Maris Harold said 51-year-old police officer Eric Talley was killed in the shooting.
Officer Talley responded to the scene, was the first on the scene, and he was fatally shot. I also want to commend the heroic actions of the officers responding not only from Boulder PD, but from across the county and other parts of this region.
Police said the suspected gunman was believed to be the only individual with serious injuries who survived the bloodshed. Video footage from a CBS affiliate at the scene showed a shirtless, bearded man in boxer shorts being led away from the store in handcuffs before he was placed on a stretcher and loaded into an ambulance. The man in custody appeared to have a bloody leg and was limping as he walked. Monday's bloodshed marks the second mass shooting in a week, following a deadly rampage in Atlanta last Tuesday that left 8 people dead, predominantly Asian women.
In the first coordinated Western action against Beijing under U.S. President Joe Biden, the United States, Britain, Canada, and the European Union imposed sanctions on Chinese officials Monday for human rights abuses in the Chinese territory of Xinjiang, home to many ethnic minority groups. The move comes on the heels of a meeting last week between senior Chinese and U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, which laid bare tensions between the world's 2 largest economies.
We certainly know and knew going in that there are a number of areas where we are fundamentally at odds, including China's actions in Xinjiang.
Western governments are seeking to hold Beijing accountable for mass detentions of Muslim Uyghurs in Xinjiang. Activists and UN rights experts say at least 1 million Muslims are detained in camps in Xinjiang. They also accuse China of using torture, forced labor, and sterilizations. China denies any abuses in Xinjiang and says its camps provide vocational training and are needed to fight extremism. Ahead of meetings with EU and NATO ministers in Brussels this week, Secretary Blinken on Monday said in a statement that China, quote, continues to commit genocide and crimes against humanity in Xinjiang, and that a united transatlantic response against Beijing, quote, sends a strong signal to those who violate or abuse international human rights. The EU was the first to impose sanctions Monday on 4 Chinese officials, including a top security director, a decision that was mirrored by Britain and Canada later in the day. The U.S., which had already blacklisted the top official in Xinjiang last year, added other senior Chinese officials to the list Monday. Beijing hit back immediately with punitive measures against the EU, blacklisting European lawmakers, diplomats, including families, and think tanks, and banning their businesses from trading with China.
Britain's jobless rate unexpectedly fell in the 3 months to January, although the change partly reflected people giving up their job hunt amid lockdown measures. The main jobless rate dropped to 5% for the period. A Reuters poll had forecast a small rise to 5.2%. None of the economists polled had expected a fall. Part of the drop in the headline unemployment rate was due to high jobless numbers for October, dropping out of the 3 monthly figures. The drop also reflected an increase in the proportion of the potential workforce classed as inactive. That includes students, parents looking after their children full-time, and people who have temporarily given up looking for work. Since January, non-essential shops and scores of businesses have been closed in England, with similar measures in other parts of the United Kingdom. Last month, the government extended the furlough support, which currently pays the wages of 1 in 5 employees until the end of September. Without that, Britain's jobless rate would be far higher. A rapid rollout of vaccinations has sharply reduced new infections in the UK. Shops are due to reopen next month, but restrictions on hospitality will remain until at least late June.
Baidu shares fell flat on their debut in Hong Kong on Tuesday. The online search giant saw its stock close level on the day. That bucks the trend for big first-day gains for new listings. Analysts say investors are growing wary of the fundraising frenzy in the city. Hong Kong has seen over $31 billion raised in share sales so far this year. That is more than 3 times the amount this time last year. One fund manager in the city told Reuters some companies were raising cash without any good reason. Baidu chairman and CEO Robin Li was bullish though. Hong Kong supports the development of innovation and Baidu has an innovation culture, he says, predicting the coming years will be a period when the best technology is rewarded. The Hong Kong deal was certainly in demand, around 100 times oversubscribed by retail investors. Li called the listing a homecoming, with Baidu shares already trading on New York's Nasdaq exchange. But its tepid debut wasn't the only sign of investor wariness in Hong Kong. Tuesday also saw video streaming site Bilibili raise a lower than expected $2.6 billion in its secondary listing in the city. Deliveroo says an upcoming London share sale will value it at up to £8.8 billion, or about $12 billion. That would make it Britain's biggest IPO in nearly a decade. The Amazon-backed food delivery company says the valuation is justified by soaring growth. In a trading update Monday, it said the total value of orders it received was up 121% on the year in January and February. Founder and Chief Executive Will Shu says the food delivery market will remain fast-growing. Earlier in the year, he said the firm had continued to see growth even after lockdowns were lifted last year. The listing will see several existing shareholders sell down parts of their stakes, as well as the sale of new shares. If it all goes ahead, it will be the country's biggest IPO by market value since commodities giant Glencore went public nearly 10 years ago. That is being held up by the UK government as proof that London can still attract big deals even after Brexit.
And this was our last report. Thank you for watching and goodbye.